What's up, guys? One Koala Man here, bringing you episode number 37 of our fairy tale reviews. And in today's episode, we get a little bit of Urza's backstory with the Fairy Tale Guild. We get the final decision of the Etherion Blast, and we figure out that Gray has some feelings towards somebody, but we'll get into that later. But if you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to hit that like button down below. I really appreciate it. And be sure to subscribe if you are new to the channel, because if you are, I welcome you with open arms. My arms are like wide open right now to embrace every single one of you. And be sure to share it to everybody you know would enjoy this type of review, because like I always say, this is not like any other review. It's more of a recap of a step-by-step, how it happens, why it happens, what happens, all that good stuff. And with all that said and done, let's get this mother underway. So we start today's episode off with Gene Simmons and Juvia, who is now Gene Simmons' groupie because he did like some crazy rock solo on her, against Lucy. And we all know Lucy wouldn't be able to fight. Well, she would be able to fight Juvia, but she wouldn't be able to beat Juvia in like a regular fight. So she's trying her words to try and persuade Juvia, like, hey, snap out of it, okay? And Juvia is not having it. She is just mopping the floor with Lucy. And Juvia actually tries to drown Lucy, but it kind of works, I guess. But Juvia is talking like telepathically through the water to Lucy. She's saying, Lucy, I am so sorry. Please forgive me. I do not mean to do any of this to you. I just can't control my actions. And she's talking about how she really wants to be a part of Fairy Tale, and she actually starts crying, even though, like, you know, we don't see her. But Lucy's saying to herself, like, she feels Juvia's tears, like the warmth of her tears around her. And so Juvia is about to deliver the final blow to Lucy, and she like turns into, you know, like half water, and then like just her face is showing, and she bolts towards Lucy, and Lucy slams Aquarius's key into Juvia, and she like yells, "Open gate of the water bearer!" And then she says like Aquarius or whatever. And then Aquarius comes out, and Aquarius just, you know, wrecks everybody, including Lucy. She doesn't care one single bit about Lucy, and she wrecks Gene Simmons, and Gene Simmons is like, I don't care how much water you have. Water is good for my hair. And turns out that this is just way too much, and he's like, okay, you can slow down the water, girls. And then that's the end of that for Gene Simmons, pretty much. And now Juvia has finally came back to her senses and has apologized deeply to Lucy. And while this is happening, we move on to Era, where the Magic Council is still deliberating about doing the Etherion Blast, and it's 4 wizards, like 4 Etherion, and then 5 against, and they just need 1 more pretty much. And not Jalal, oh my gosh, Seagrain is, you know, trying to convince everybody, like, we have to do the Etherion, and he says that, I really hate to say this, I promise I would never say his name, but Jalal is trying to summon Zerath, and that turns the tides very quickly for that deliberation. But before we reach a final decision between the Magic Council and doing the Etherion Blast, we go back to the Tower of Heaven, where the Owl is versing Natsu. And just when you think Natsu is finally gonna beat the Owl like grabs Natsu and does the most unthinkable thing out there. He like shoves Natsu into his mouth. And of course, like any other decent human being, Natsu is trying to fight out of, you know, this Owl's mouth, but he just can't seem to get out, and the Owl's like pushing him further and further into his mouth. And then we go to Gray, who is searching for Urza, and he goes and has a bit of a flashback, pretty much. And in this flashback, we see Urza's first visit to Fairy Tale, and Gray just looking at her, like saying, like, who's this? And with this flashback, we move on to the present, and like throughout the episode, we get little glimpses of Gray's flashback, you know, throughout the rest of this episode. But we move on from that part of the flashback to Gray right now, and he finds Natsu, Happy, Simon, and the Owl. And the Owl finally successfully swallowed Natsu whole. And now that the Owl swallowed Natsu, he gains all of Natsu's powers to the fullest, and he even grew a little patch of pink hair on his head. So now it's Gray versus Natsowl. See what I did there? Natsu, owl, not Sowl. So this fight is going on, and not Sowl is. I love saying that. I love saying not Sowl. But he's getting the upper hand on Gray, and he's starting to burn Gray, and he's saying that Natsu's fire, or Salamander's fire, is just too much for Gray. And at this moment, Gray's like, kind of, you know, getting a little bit woozy or something like that. And he starts having a flashback of when Urza stood up to him, and then Urza was like calling the shots when Gray was the one calling the shots back in the day. And then I guess that motivated Gray in the present time, and he just froze the fire. And it turns out that Gray likes Urza. And I'm not, you know, I don't have hard evidence, but I'm just assuming he does because he keeps talking about her, and I don't know why I keep sounding like this. But either way, Gray gets the energy to finally beat Not Sowl, and Not Sowl spits out Natsu, so now he just becomes the regular owl, and Natsu becomes himself, and that is the end of Not Sowl. And we end this episode off with Era, with the Magic Council at Era, and now we have 8 council members in favor of doing the Ethereum Blast, and only 1 not in favor. So from moving from 4 in favor to 8 in favor, just because Seagrain said that Zeref is, you know, planning to rise again. And so that is very interesting. So now the squad has to race against the clock with all of these. They just need to beat Ikaruga, which is that pink-haired lady, and I called her Kagura last episode, but they have to beat Ikaruga, they have to beat Jalal, and they have to escape the island because the Ethereum Blast is a sure and imminent thing to happen. But like I said, that is the end of the episode of Fairy Tail today. Alrighty, you already know I don't like to end off these episodes without a question of the day. And today's question of the day is, if you had the power to use anybody's power pretty much, like how the owl does with Natsu, whose power would you utilize? And it could be anybody that we've been introduced to up to this point. It could be someone as important as Natsu and Gray, or somebody as small and you know, whatever the word is, small and meaningless as the little goblin from way back in the day. Now, if I were the owl, I would try and use Gray's power, because Gray, the way he beat the owl was like he had like ice coming out of his hand and his elbow, and he was like doing like 7-blade dance or something like that. That was legit. I would love to do that. Just be slicing and dicing. But anyways, if you had that power, let me know down in the comments whose power would you use the most. And with that, all that said and done, guys, keep it cool.